Aman, first to you, what's the process going forward? And Pallavi, of course, for you to think about a couple of issues that we have raised and spoken about, this constant, I won't even call it dog whistle, but blatant attacks on the personage of the Vice President. So, was that really a factor? But let me come out to Aman first. Yes, Aman.
Well, Rahul, the process is very simple. Now, Mr. Harivansh will fill in for Mr. Dhankar, in the Rajya Sabha, in the chair for the next about 2 months for maybe the rest of this session. In fact, the monsoon session of Parliament, before an election is notified by the Election Commission of India for the Vice President, and the members have to vote. Then there's a process to that, and the government will soon get on the job. And it will be very interesting now to see who fills the shoes of Mr. Jagdeep Dhankhar, who will the choice of the government will be for that very, very important post in the Rajya Sabha, where the BJP does have a slight edge now after, recent wins in the states. But the process is that within 60 days, you need to do the election, and Mr. Harivansh will fill in for the rest of the monsoon session of Parliament. And Rahul, as I was earlier mentioning, I'll take this back to what happened in March. For 4 days, when Mr. Dhankar was admitted to AIIMS for cardiac-related ailments, he was hale and hearty. The statement said he had fully recovered from that, but clearly it seems that that stayed with him, and he's now citing those health-related ailments. He's 74 years of age, so he's decided to take a break from the rather rigorous duties of being the Vice President as well as the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha.
Okay, Pallavi, I remember, and I'm just going to go back to a few months ago. In fact, also today, and he had put out a tweet, and this was at 15 minutes to a quarter past afternoon, and he said, he's talking to presumably the Rajya Sabha MPs, he's saying, a thriving democracy cannot sustain constant acrimony. Political tension must be reduced, as confrontation is not the essence of politics. While political parties may pursue the same goals through different approaches, no one in India opposes the nation's interests. I urge all political parties to foster bond, mutual respect, avoiding unbecoming language or personal attacks against leaders on television or elsewhere. Such behavior contradicts our civilizational essence. Dialogue and discussion, not conflict, are the way forward. Internal fighting strengthens our enemies and provides material to divide us. All of this taken together, and then moments later, of course, a few hours later, he decides to put his resignation forth. Coincidence? Wearisome? Health complications? What's brought it all on?
Rahul, there's no denying the fact that, he would often be perturbed about the fact that how he was often facing personal attacks and constant shouting and tantrums being thrown inside the Rajya Sabha. And on multiple platforms, I remember he had met up with a group of women journalists just recently, and like many of us, and he would often talk about the fact that, I insist that inside my house there is no one who's screaming and makes a point without shouting at anyone, and I expect the same to happen inside Rajya Sabha. I think what really hurt him and upset him was also the impeachment proceedings, which many of the opposition leaders wanted to move against him, because they had accused of him of being partisan, obviously because of technical grounds, because of faulty signatures. That impeachment motion of his was not even accepted, but that hurt him. He was actually addressing some probationers in the academy, and he was speaking to young, bureaucrats, and he was telling them that, you do not do things for semantics. You don't start shouting because you want to grab the eyeballs or to be on television. You really have to settle down amicably, and there has to be a sense of bonhomie. There were two very big issues which are closest to his heart of late. One, of course, was to maintain a decorum inside the house. He knew most of the MPs, even the ones he had a spat with, Jaya Bachchan for that matter, Mr. Kharge with that matter, Derek O'Brien for that matter. But there were always those jests, those one-liners coming in from him, and he was known to have those long lines, long speeches, and those interactions. That's one. I think he felt very strongly about his impeachment proceedings against Justice Verma, because he himself comes in from the profession, and he used to say that you have to be like Caesar's wife. You have to be above any kind of a suspicion. And this is something which would have been closest to his heart if he had been around as the Vice President of India to oversee the impeachment proceedings. Very significant, 145 signatures today on the impeachment proceedings. You have the man who would have overseen it also stepping down as the Vice President of India.
Yes, Payal, of course, he single-handedly, Dr. Ranganathan also there with us in the frame. Payal, he single-handedly drove this agenda. Let's be honest, when no political party or politician was willing to touch the nettle of judicial impropriety, he started and kicked off the debate. And it was a very pro-public view that he was expressing about transparency, because at the end of it, its judiciary is about trust and the people's trust. So he was talking, in fact, in those terms. But just give us a background on Jagdeep Dhankhar, his relationship with the Prime Minister, his relationship with the President of India, and some of the other top leaders on both sides of the aisle. This is not a man who is only restricted to only one treasury bench, etc., etc.
Well, of course, Mr. Dhankar would not have been in the post that he rarely was if he did not have the backing of the BJP or the Prime Minister in particular as well. Remember, the Prime Minister has seen him, fight some cases in Gujarat as well. That is where he was first spotted, and then he was asked to come and join the BJP. That is something which has been there, and that is something which has been noticed as well. But what really transpired over the last few months remains to be seen, given the fact that it was not only the opposition leaders who were extremely unhappy with the way in which he treated them or probably dismissed their concerns at multiple occasions. That has been something which has been there, but sometimes he's been very unkind in his conversation about union ministers as well. For example, pulling up Shivraj Singh Chauhan at a public gathering and saying, "But what are you doing and what is the government doing?" About the farmers in the country as well. So those kind of comments that he's been making in the public, especially with the governance as well, sometimes has not gone too well with the government side as well, Rahul. Let's talk straight as far as that is really concerned. Of course, health is the primary reason that right now for stepping down, but this has been unprecedented because you've had Venkaiah Naidu in the past. When this government came in, he was made the vice president a few years after Hamid Ansari, and Venkaiah Naidu had completely smooth relations both opposition as well as the ruling side, and that is something which many leaders, especially in the opposition, really miss.
So now, just very quickly, there is a procedure that kicks in. Next 60 days, the election must be held. Two fronts have now opened up. The BJP itself is trying to pick its own president, so it was distracted with that work. And now, of course, Payal, you have this added responsibility. Is it going to be easy to pick someone of his stature to step in to this breach? Number one, are there leaders that the BJP already has sort of been talking about? Because if it's health, then it must have been an issue that people were aware of in government.
Well, absolutely. Nothing happens overnight, Rahul. There is a planned procedure which is in place as well. Probably he communicated with the government that he wasn't in the best of health and wanted to step down as well. And like I mentioned today, throughout, you've never seen these scenes in parliament. I saw the entire jing bang of the BJP, the entire top ministers in the government sitting in a closed door meeting with Rajnath Singh. Before that, they had an hour and a half long meeting with the Prime Minister himself as well. So obviously a lot of action was happening, and in the Rajya Sabha you could see multiple leaders of the BJP coming to the office of Mr. Rajnath Singh and talking to Amit Shah and the other leaders as well. So we knew something was really coming up. There's been a lot of buzz saying that the government will do something big, and probably a lot of fingers were being pointed out that probably some form of Jammu and Kashmir statehood was going to be restored. But this was happening in the background. Like I said, there's been a very, very busy day in the day for Kiran Rijiju as well. This afternoon they had a meeting of the Business Advisory Committee and there was no consensus which was arrived at. So obviously it was not the best of days as far as Mr. Dhankar was really concerned. And in terms of what he wanted to really do and in fact set the ball rolling for having a discussion on Operation Sindhu was really concerned. But like I said, it's not a decision that is being taken overnight. It's a decision and it's happening in the middle of the parliament session, which is even more surprising. But the government of the day has numbers in place, and if they have to elect somebody as a vice president from here on, they're very confident that the numbers are not a problem.
Numbers are not a problem. Of course, you'll have to find a person who balances the various political contingencies, isn't it, Aman? That's going to be very important. As a farm leader coming at a time, very critical farm interests were being sort of talked about. There was disaffection amongst farmers. He played a role actually in also tiding those issues over with farmers in negotiations for the BJP, for the government, for of course Indian politics as such. So he had a larger role and he was trusted, and he also spoke in farmer interests. So that was a very important constituency. Do you see that a continuation, another farm leader coming in, or do you see somebody else from another sector completely unrelated?
the most tough question to predict whom the BJP is going to choose next for any position. So, we should not hazard any guesses here. But yes, I think the BJP will take a considered decision. Now we know why the Prime Minister was meeting all his senior ministers today. Obviously, the government knew that Mr. Dhankar had given in his resignation.
Yeah.
And maybe this meeting was a fallout of that.
Okay, just hold on for a few seconds. We have Priyanka Chaturvedi, senior leader of the UPD Sena, with us on the line. Priyanka Chaturvedi, you have this sudden news that has broken on all our channels, of course, suggesting that Jagdeep Dhankhar, the Vice President, had to step down, citing health reasons. Your response?
No, I'm equally surprised as all the news channels are, because Jagdeep Dhankhar ji, even at the peak of when he was unwell, he was conducting the parliament and he was part of the parliamentary procedure. And despite having ill health, he used to ensure that he was present in the parliament. So for him to suddenly resign has come as a shock to me, despite him having his obvious disagreements with me. I'm hoping that he would relook at his resignation. And I also, of course, wish him good health in case that is seriously a problem, because he was absolutely conducting the proceedings of the parliament today in the Rajya Sabha through the day. And he took breaks in between, but he was absolutely fine. So I'm hoping that he would continue being in the position that he's been serving in the past.
Well, taking an enlightened view here, Ms. Chaturvedi, but I just want to ask you, because there has been a back and forth going on between the opposition and Mr. Dhankar. There was a failed attempt at impeaching him that sort of broke his heart. At least that's what he said in public. So it's very nice to hear from you that you would actually want him to continue. Do you think that relationship was far too broken?
No, despite that heartbreak that he went through of the no confidence motion that came from the opposition, where we were not have a voice, and it came as part of parliamentary procedure. The parliamentary process does not in any way undermine a person's position. We express our no confidence on a certain situation and situations that were prevailing then. But at no point in time did we want him to step down suddenly the way he has stepped down. So I'm hoping he's absolutely fine. I'm hoping his health keeps him well. But at the same time, I also feel that he relooks at the sudden resignation that has come about.
Okay, Ms. Chaturvedi, thank you very much for joining us. Of course, political reactions as of now guarded, as is now, because we don't have the full facts before us, viewers. We've only got a statement to go by. Dr. Ranganathan is here with us. I'll also want to get a quick comment on that first initial reaction from the opposition, from both Payal, Aman, and of course Pallavi, who's here with us. Dr. Ranganathan, we're talking about an individual who had run-ins with the opposition. I came to you a little earlier and I asked you whether that might have played on his mind. This had gone beyond what one would basically simply categorize as the hurly-burly of politics. This was a divorce that had taken place, complete lack of trust in the person's personage as far as the opposition is concerned. And do you think that could be some sort of a pressure point? I'm just saying the government might want somebody who's, more amenable.
I doubt that. That's my personal opinion. I think we're really living in an age where acrimony is the name of the game, to be honest. Ever since 2014, we've seen that. And I think the importance of Mr. Dhankar was all the more vital for the government, because he was a man who had been or fought elections representing almost all the major parties. I mean, he was in Janata Dal famously with VP Singh ji and Chandrasekhar ji. Then he was with the Congress. He fought on a Congress ticket. Then he switched to BJP, and then he had a governorship role. So he was vastly experienced in dealing with acrimony that comes across as normal between political parties. So I don't think that could be the reason. I think his, as he complained of chest pain and something back in March, that possibly, and I think the government did not expand on what exactly was the ailment. But I wish him all the very best. I know how what that pain is, so I really am hoping for all the best for him. Yeah.
Well, let's go across to Kalyan Banerjee, Member of Parliament from the TMC, that had an unfortunate run-in with Mr. Jagdeep Dhankhar a few sessions of Parliament back. Mr. Banerjee, thank you very much for speaking to us. Your first thoughts on this surprise move by Mr. Dhankhar to step down?
No, I have heard this news.
Yes.
And I have also seen the copy of the resignation letter. I take these things on its face value that he is unwell. And it is correct that he was also admitted into the hospital for long times. He was there. Earlier session, immediately after earlier session, he was possibly admitted into the hospital for a long time. I take it as its face value, and I will only pray before the God that whether he remains as the Honorable Vice President or not, he should remain well, physically should remain well. That is the only prayer of mine before the God.
Mr. Banerjee, you had, of course, an unsavory incident